Good morning. I am Charlotte Cheney, and this is Soul Connections. You can find me at charlottesoul.com. I'm a life coach and a speaker and an author, and I have developed a system for staying balanced so that you can be prepared for things that come at you that are unexpected. And so I wanted to share it with you because a lot of people are asking now, what is SEEP? SEEP. And what it is it is just a framework for checking in with your soul and seeing how you're doing balance-wise. So S is spiritual. So I believe that if you spend time and you check in with yourself spiritually and you know where you are and you know what you believe, even taking it further and connecting with what you believe, for me it's God and Jesus. And so how am I doing spiritually? Am I maintaining that relationship? Am I maintaining that connection with God? And for me, it is going to church, it's prayer, it's doing a daily devotional. But if I find myself feeling spiritually a little distant from God and not so connected, then I need to ramp it up a little bit. And sometimes that means just putting Christian music on in the background and just having that flow in my head all the time, taking a break from the world or whatever I'm doing, and just really committing myself to prayer. Because as much as I love God and as much as I trust to God, my spiritual life needs to be tended to the way any other relationship does. So that would be my spiritual life. And how's yours? Yours may be very different. Maybe you have been thinking about going to church, or maybe you have been wondering if there's a God. So it doesn't really matter where you are on your journey, but check in with yourself and see if you could take one step closer to where you'd like to be. It's not perfection, it's a little progress. Okay, move forward. So then environmental. This is very, very important. For me, I was in an emotionally abusive marriage. My environment was toxic. I couldn't be myself. I was constantly walking on eggshells, and also in an abusive situation. It's not always marriage. Often it's parents or even bosses or children. So there's someone in your environment that causes you to just long for their approval. And sometimes you'll get it and then they come back and they smash you down, and then you feel vulnerable. That is abuse. And emotional abuse is very, very difficult to define. But maybe you're not in an abusive environment, but maybe you're in an environment that's very cluttered. An environment that is full of junk, that you can't walk through your garage, right? Because you've just got it just chock full of stuff. You've got piles of stuff. Your home is just cluttered. And I met with someone yesterday who is a feng shui specialist, and I hope to have her here for one of my episodes so she can share with us a little bit about how feng shui really affects our life. And I'm not even going to begin to go into it, but I will tell you, I loved what she was saying. And one client she went into, you couldn't walk through the house, the hallways were crowded, and when she worked on that space with her client, that client's life began to heal in a lot of different ways. So that is very, very cool. I dropped my chart, so I'm just going to go from memory. The next one is emotional. How are we doing emotionally? So for me, I had an enormously traumatic event occur about 2 years ago in the midst of my divorce. And I can tell you, I think my cells remember it, because this past several days I have just been feeling this angst and heaviness, and my body, I think, is remembering this trauma that I went through. And so I'm realizing there's still areas in me that need to be tended to with that. I also have mentioned to you before that my husband is running for local office, and that has its own set of trauma, little issues, right? And then also constantly dealing with co-parenting with people that I don't understand. And so that's very complicated. So those are emotional issues I have got to tend to. I have got to address. I have got to say, hey, how are you doing? I can't just blow it off. Oh, that's uncomfortable, so I'm going to forget about it. I'm going to flee from it. If I do that, I'm going to find myself out of balance. And then when there's a car terrorist attack in New York City or something like that, then I'm like already on pins and needles because I'm not grounded and I can't handle anything else. And so I don't want to be that woman. I don't want to be the train wreck. I don't want to be the basket case. I want to be the solid woman who's modeling for others what it is like to be balanced, what it is like to focus on my life and pay attention to different areas so that I can be solid and standing on my feet. So physical is the last one. And if you are familiar with me, you know that I have recently just acknowledged the fact that although I take care of myself physically, I eat well, and I exercise, I have been battling a self-image, self-loathing eating disorder for most of my life. And so I recently committed a week, and my precious husband gave me away for a week in the middle of his local election period. He let me go and supported me, and I went and I spent time learning about eating and dieting, although not dieting, and exercise and caring for myself. And it has really, really been transformational. It's been about 2 weeks since I've been home. And the difference I'm noticing is that one of the things that they presented to me was everything is acceptable. They took away the forbidden food. They took away, you can't eat carbs, you can't eat dessert, you can't eat this. And suddenly, those things, when knowing that I could walk down the street to the bakery, I don't really drawn to do it. When it's forbidden, I'm like, oh, you sneak down there, right? Some of you don't get it, but some of you really do get it. And I know that because the diet world is just insane. And I have been up and down and up and down and up and down. And I've realized it's just been abusive to my own body. Just deprive it of carbs or just deprive it of fat or deprive it of these things that it needs to be balanced. And so by taking that deprivation away, I have really relaxed. I've had dessert. I've had carbs. But I've also had very balanced meals. We had a chart where we talked about the food balance. I'm going to show it to you. This is from Green Mountain at Fox Run. Again, I've shared that with you. So this is the bottom. This is how many vegetables I should have on my plate. This is how many starches, and this is how many proteins. And here's a little fat. And you can also throw in a little fun food right there. I don't drink, but maybe you do. Maybe it's wine or whatever it is that you have. For me, it's probably chocolate, and I don't have it every time. But I'm feeding myself on a regular basis, and I don't feel deprived. And I do notice if I do not steadily feed my system, I do feel the urge to go pig out on ice cream or something like that. And so I'm really, really aware of the connection between caring for my body and my body causing me to react in ways that I don't like binging or something like that. So, I would love to share more with you about any of these things, about your spiritual life, about your environmental life, about your emotional life, and your physical life. Again, it's SEEP. I am so excited. I have a journal coming out. It's almost done. It's beautiful, and it's an opportunity for you to really spend some time alone and discover these things for yourself. The one thing I want to encourage you with any of this, there's no shame. You are not perfect spiritually. You are not perfect environmentally, emotionally, or physically. You are not. And you are not going to be. You're a human being. So if looking at yourself and looking at these areas is so scary because you feel so far from where you think you should be, let that go and just embrace the fact that you're willing to take one step further. And if you can't do it for yourself, do it for those around you. Do it for your children, do it for your siblings, do it for your spouse or someone around you who's watching something. And when they see you take control over your life and taking self-care, they will learn to do that. They will. You don't need to tell them, you don't need to preach it, but you just model it for them. I just want to celebrate you and thank you for taking this time to be here. It's important to take time for yourself. Look for me at charlottesoul.com. Look for my books that are coming out. I have 2 books that are coming out very soon, and then 2 more that I'm really working on. So have a great weekend, and thanks for sharing it with me. Take care.